Welcome to Bosses with Baggage. I'm Sherry Sutton, your host and business growth guide. Around here, we believe that failures are our superpowers. So in this podcast, we'll explore the many ways that setbacks can mold, shape, and change your life and your business and ensure that you come out of the fire better than before. Through interviews with business leaders and discussions of my own personal struggles, we'll unlock the secrets to turning setbacks and low moments into opportunities to thrive. From approaching your business with a servant's heart to getting comfortable with being the face of your brand, each episode will be a safe, judgment-free zone to reframe the concept of failure with honesty, empathy, grace, and a whole lot of laughter. So are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Bosses with Baggage. My name's Sherry Sutton. I am your host, and this is the podcast where we talk about all of our kind of icky bits that have made us who we are today and that are the inspiration that we use to grow a business that is of service to other people. And I'm here with the amazing Kemburleigh. Say hello.
Hello.
So happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about you, just a quick little introduction, what you do, and then we're going to dive into your story.
So professionally, I am an emotional intelligence coach. I do C-suite trainings and workshops for teams and leadership development. We talk about communication, we talk about conflict resolution, and we talk about sustaining or retaining our employees. So that's what I do professionally, and all the other times I'm a homeschool mom.
That's amazing. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 beautiful children. One is college aged. And so she's a freshman right now. And then I have a beautiful 8-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. So,
wow, homeschooling is a lot.
Pretty good.
God bless you.
I need it all. Thank you.
So we met recently at a networking event, and you shared a little bit about your story of how you got to where you are today. And we were talking afterwards, and you're like, I've never really shared that story publicly. And it's so incredible what you've been through, how you've gotten to where you are today, how it's informed what you do now, for a living. And I just left that meeting feeling so inspired by you. And so I want you to kind of tell the rest of the world and all of our listeners, tell us your story. How did you get to where you were? Because I know, man, you've had some rocky bottoms, right? Which we all have. But please just tell us your story.
Yeah. So one, I am not originally from the great state of Texas, so I'm a transplant here. So I feel like now I belong, right? These are my people. We are one with one another. But I travel, I think it's maybe about 1,300 miles away from the state of Virginia. And I was on a Greyhound bus. I remember 6 a.m. I just want to tell the story this way because I think it's just kind of one of those things where you're not certain of the where you're going. You just know you have to go. And so I found myself on a Greyhound with my 4-month-old daughter, who was still nursing at the time. My eldest was 14, and a very rambunctious 5-year-old son on this cramped Greyhound bus going from stop to stop. Just trying to get to this new space called Texas. And I remember the horizon came up over Tennessee, and it was so beautiful. And it just kind of struck my eye. And I'm looking at the window, and I remember this scripture had came to me that we had been talking about forever at a church that I used to belong to. And it was a scripture that referred to Abraham leaving everything and coming to a new place. And so I was like, wait a minute. I've been talking to me this entire time. So, and so it gave me this weird sense of peace that though this situation was extraordinarily uncomfortable, I was not without my help, or I was not in a position that um, I would be left or stuck in. This is something that I'm just going through, and so that was my courage. That was my the claim to fame that I could hold on to as I was transitioning from this space. But I came here. Unfortunately, my eldest brother, he was murdered, and just the entire orchestration of everything, just our closeness, I ended up being a person of that was in danger too. I was in danger too, and I was a new mom, and it was just a lot. And I called a friend because I used to be this political, do all the right things person. So I called a friend and I'm like, hey, the situation is happening. I am brokenhearted. I have no clue what to do. I am in postpartum right now. Um, I feel like I should have a weapon in my house. I don't like that because I have these babies here. Nobody wants to live that way. What do I do? And my friend called me back quickly and said, if I can get you out today, are you ready? And I said, um, what can I take with me? They said, nothing. And so I packed one little child-sized Lightning McQueen suitcase just so I could have diapers and a change of clothes for each of us. And we went to my uncle's house, and I just spent the day with him. He had no clue that that would be the last time he would see me. And I just spent the day, and I had a great time. And I stayed there all day long. I let him play with the babies. He took all the pictures and did all of the things. And I got a text saying I'm outside. And I said, all right, Uncle, I love you. And I wasn't here. And I love you, okay? And he said, what's going on? And I said, nothing. And he said, okay. And I hugged him and I left. I came here by way of just the Greyhound and someone else's tickets and just getting us through state to state. And it took maybe I think it was maybe 2 weeks. And we got to Dallas, and
wait, so you were on the Greyhound with 3 kids, including an infant, for 2 weeks?
2 weeks, just stopping at just random holes in shelter places to lay and get up and go again, and get up and go again. And it was one of those things where you can't imagine, honestly. You just really can't imagine that, one, you would be going through that. And then two, having my infant was the easiest part. The hardest part was the spark, the glimmer, and the smile on my 14-year-old fading while we're going through this. And so I'm like, okay, what do I need to do so that she knows that this is not forever? We get to Texas and it's 7 in the morning.
Texas?
I've never been to Texas. That was literally
You just picked it on the map and went? That's awesome. I love you.
I'm like, it's here. Where don't you know? And I was like, I've never been to Texas. I came and I remember getting off of that Greyhound bus, and everything just looks fresh and new when you're in a new space, right? And so you just have a new hope. And so we get off this Greyhound, and there's a McDonald's across the street. I don't know if you know it. Well, in downtown Dallas, it's not the most friendly of places, but when you're new, it's like a beacon of light, right? And so it's inside. And so we go and we get something to eat, and I'm just like, wow, what do I do at this point? Like, where do I go from here? And all I know for me is that police. My one of my brothers used to be a police officer. I just always haven't had really great relationships with law enforcement, and so I say, well, police help you. So let me just ask them. And as I stopped a police officer in the middle of the street, and I said, hey, you know, we're here, and I heard that they're housing people in, I think it was the convention center, actually, because this is when COVID started. Okay, so I forgot to say that. Okay, so now there is an pandemic and the world is stopping, and I am extraordinarily out of my element. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know where this convention center is. So I jump into a Uber, and we go to the convention center. The Uber driver is from Australia. Okay, so he doesn't know where I'm supposed to go in this huge building. And it looks like nothing is happening at this building. And so he can't stay with me as much as he wants to help me. Like, okay, man, I'm sorry. Like, just let me get my things out of the car. And, okay. And so we get out. He's like, he just grabbed my hand. He said, everything is going to be better than you expect. He said, I just know it for you. I just know you have amazing children. And I was just like, oh, because children are very resilient. So we're laughing. We're watching all the things we get to see while we're driving on the interstate. We're just trying to make light of whatever. And this is where we are. Anyway, and so, yeah. Got to the convention center, ran into another police officer, and I'm like, hey, I heard you guys house people who are homeless. Here I am, me and my children, they're right there, and I don't know where I am or where I'm supposed to go. And the police officer said, yeah, they don't take women and children. And I said, I only had $24, and I just used it in the Uber to get here. Can you please just tell me what I need to do at this point? And he said, and he looked, and his partner looked to see my children. And he said, is that a baby? I said, yes, she's 4 months. I'm nursing. I actually need to nurse her now. I am in pain. We can just take her somewhere. It would be really great. And so he said, okay. So they move all of their stuff out of the back of the car, and they try to stuff it all in the trunk of their vehicle, and they put us in the back of the vehicle. My first time ever riding in a police car. Okay. And so it's hard. I had no clue that it was hard back there. Like, it was the most I was like, why is it hard? And then every time I've seen a cop show, I've always assumed that these are random shames. They're not. They're like, they're hard. They're like stool chairs. And so they drive us around, and they to where they're housing everyone, and we get out of the car gleefully, and so the sergeant walks up, and he's like, what are you doing, to the police officers? And they're like, they need help, they need our help. They were like, the people are almost here. And so the reason they don't take women and children is because that's where they house pedophiles and sex offenders. So they formed this flank around us, like a steel wall of DPD, okay? And so I am crying in this circle of police officers. My son thinks he's at a game, so he's just playing and having a good time. And I just felt so safe. And they would not, they called every office that they could call to get someone to come and get us and help us. And they did not stop. They wouldn't stop. We were there for at least 4 hours before someone came. But they protected us like we were their children, and we were there, we were theirs. And it was a great show for me. My first time here, and this is what I get to experience. And so it was amazing. It was really amazing. And I told my daughter, they put us up in this hotel, and they called the homeless shelters. And so I told my daughter that night, laying in that hotel room, I said, by July, it was March, and I told her, by July, we're going to be moving into our own place. And July 7th.
At this point, you have no money, no job, and you don't know anybody.
Correct.
So, but did you have, like, when you were back in Virginia, like, what did you do? Did you have job experience and things that you could utilize, or?
Yeah, so, okay. So I am, I've always been in higher education. I've been the director of fund development for several different private entities. And so I know how to fundraise. I know how to create communications and endowments, and do a lot of, donor relations and all of those things. And so I had that experience. But I didn't want to be in that space. I actually wanted to be in the nonprofit sector. I had witnessed, after working within the political space and nonprofit space, a lot of emotionally immature individuals in positions of power where they were not receiving funding because they didn't know how to handle their emotions. And so I had developed a business module where I would be the liaison to have the meetings for them, to be able to communicate with the city councils or the different sponsors or vendors, to be able to help them to gain some revenue for their nonprofits. And so I decided this business can be further than just me being the communicator. I actually can start to train them but I did not realize that it was something called emotional intelligence. I just knew I know how to move in a room, and I know how to turn off my emotions when needed. I know how to answer the question that's being asked. I know how to, communicate my feelings, or communicate my boundaries without offending other individuals. And a lot of people didn't know how to do that. And these are very professional individuals. These are people who are in, like I said, vice chair positions or, presidential positions. And so I created a business. And so when I got here, I knew that that's something that I wanted to do, but I also knew that I was completely new to the market, and I don't know anyone. I have no network. I can't call my old network. I have to start over. And I'm starting as a homeless woman with 3 children. So I am beneath the level of professionalism that they would assume to do the job. And I only work with corporate clients. So I had to figure out how to navigate that. And how
you have no clothes, right? You have no computer.
Yeah. No clothes. And I remember, so we went into the shelter with 2 days. So we stayed in the hotel for 2 days. We went into this shelter, and I remember, me and my children were all in this one room now. This is completely new, okay? And this is just not us, but this is what we have to do at this point. And so I remember them, giving us clothes, especially for my baby, because she's a baby, and so they're giving us all these clothes, and they're just trying to make sure that we at least have something. And
I
so
want to take a second. Mm-hmm. And just so tell me about your life in Virginia, because it sounds like that wasn't the case. And so I think in order to understand how different this is,
mm-hmm.
I guess kind of tell us a little bit about what your kids' experience was in your home in Virginia and how much of a stark change this was.
Okay, so my eldest is 10 years older than her siblings. We were married. We lived in this suburb of the naval Naval Oceana station down in Virginia Beach. So we go to the beach every other day. My daughter's in theater. Like I have my son, they're very privileged. They're very privileged. They pretty much, they don't ask me for anything. I just always, every time I come home, they have something new. I was that mom. Dad is, he does stocks and options trading. He trains on golf courses, and he travels all over doing that. Every week he's in a new state. And so, this was, it was light years away from what I thought we would be doing in 2020. And I want to say that even for myself, I've always just been a very professional person. I come from, my great grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman. So we come from legacy in the sense of the way that we were raised. So we're very mindful of military life. We're very mindful of just, the upper middle class suburban lifestyle. I lived in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and we just have we've never had any wants. It wasn't, I won't say it as if my life growing up was easy, because it was not. But as an adult, I have been taking care of myself since I was 16. I was in the military. I worked, like I said, in higher education right from the military. So I've just always provided. And then I got married, so I was always provided for. I'm a very spoiled girl. My dad spoiled me, and my brothers spoiled me. They would come and clean and cook in my kitchen, and we would have days where the family would come into our garden in our backyard. We got a fire pit, and everybody's there having a good time. I would run around the lake every morning at 5 a.m. Just to do something with my day before I started homeschool, for the day. And we were part of this beautiful community where we would share everything. So everybody grew something different in their garden. And so we would share our foods, share our recipes. Everybody would come over, cook and eat together, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Husbands would be with the wives. And, it was a great time. It was a beautiful time. My children, it was different. It was very different and very, it was a challenge the most, like I said, for my 14-year-old, because she's not used to not being in her own space, not someone else feeding us. We have to eat what they want us to eat, or we had to start getting the COVID testing. That was a requirement. And before they did the cute swab, it was the one that goes all the way up here. And it was we had to do it. We had to be subjected to that. And that was just not something that we were okay with. We don't want, and no offense to anybody who, likes vaccines, but I homeschool my children. So you can imagine, I am not a vaccine person. And so, it's just so many ways I felt violated. I felt betrayed by life because I had done so many things for what I would consider our community, a community of people who look like me, right? Community of people who may not have had the same privilege or tenacity that I have had, but they need someone who can advocate for them and who can be that voice all throughout the community, the political world, with the mayors. Everyone knew me. And so it was just for someone to scheme and work so hard to take my brother's life felt like a personal violation of everything I thought that my purpose was, and every place that I put my feet and put my hands to do. And I really just, I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed. I did. And so when I came, and then like I said, so to have to now um, sift through clothes that they give you just to try to find something. I don't wear sneakers. I finally do own a pair of Converse. I'm so happy. Like, they're my favorite pair of shoes. But I wasn't raised that way, so I never got grabbed hold of wearing sneakers. I'm just not a I guess I just found out that, please, just if you need to delete this, it's fine. But I just found out that I'm a strong Black woman. Um, and I didn't know that that's what I was. I knew that I was a tenacious person. I knew that persevere. I work hard. I have an extraordinary work ethic. Whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to accomplish it. These are the things that I knew about myself, right? But I was never raised to think that I am Black. I was raised to think that you are Kimberleigh. You're going to be something. I don't care, what happens in this life. I created a Kimberleigh, and Kimberleigh means leader of warriors. And so once I found out what I used to hate my name because I am, again, a brown girl. So I wanted some edge. Like what? I love it sound like this. And my name is, I have no cred in these streets. Like, I want to be a part of the group that I represent. And I just was,
Look, I'm named after the liquor store across the street that was beer, wines, and sherry. So, at least you've got like a good, powerful name. I mean, it might. And the irony is that I'm a recovering alcoholic. So it was destined. I was destined. See, our names really manifested themselves in our lives.
be careful and mindful. We're getting our children these names. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So you have to leave Virginia. Yeah. You have this, really nice life. The kids have their own space. I assume it sounds like your husband wasn't in the picture anymore, didn't come with you.
No. Okay. So we had started divorcing, right? And so that didn't mean that he was there every day. And we're still divorced, but we have children. So he's there. He would stay, most of the time. But we were separate, yet equally not together at the same time, but still sharing the load. And so when this situation happened, it was going to disrupt his business. It would disrupt everything that he had going on if he were to just vanish. He has, a child from a previous marriage, and he just wanted to really stay and preserve what he had built there. And I understood it wholeheartedly. And I really couldn't have contact with anybody. And so I just told him, I said, hey, I'll call you when I can, when I get a new number, when I am stationary. He's always known that I'm very resilient. So he wasn't nervous that I would not be okay. He knew I'd be okay. And he was just very patient, so that when I was able and stabilized and we had our own place, I'm like, hey, so this is where we are, and come on down, So yeah, so it was, everything changed, and it was because I am very, strong-willed, I'll say. By March 23rd, I was here on March 3rd. By March 23rd, I had full-time employment. And I was grateful because we could work from home at that point, because it was a, pandemic. And so I started working on April 6th. And
are you in the shelter at this point? Are you working from the shelter? So did they give you a computer?
they had like a training computer lab in the shelter already, and so I was the only person working, and so I could go down there, and it was just training, so I would just have to listen to modules and be on the Zoom calls and everything like that, and so I could do that for 2 weeks, and I think it was about 3 weeks of training, and then when you have employment and they see that you're going to keep your employment, they move you to a hotel. And so we had to go to this, and it's not like a hotel I would go to. It's like, like things I would never want my children to see, and so we had to stay in those sorts of spaces, very damp, dark, the things that people write about in a book. And so we're in these hotels. There's a food disparity around there. So, and it's not like there's a huge refrigerator. So I'm trying my best to keep them on a nice enough diet. I am still nursing. And so it was just a matter of, I'm working. The kids know they have to be very quiet because I am making calls. I'm a sales agent. So I'm making calls. So they're being very quiet. And I remember one day, we had to move from one hotel because they found out that we had COVID, or we were moved there because we had COVID. So they wanted us out of their hotel. So they literally threw all of our stuff away, all the stuff we had just gotten. And so it was devastating because it was the last, it was just the little bit we did bring with us was gone. And so I remember being so angry and so hurt because they didn't understand that they were throwing away everything from where we were from. Like all of my daughter, she was holding on to her Harvard sweatshirt because that's the college she wants to go to. And so she was just, very clinging to it. And they were like, well, you can go out in the dumpster and get it if you want it, and I'm like, why did you say that? It was just it was a culture shock. We moved to the next hotel, and that one was where the Johns and their friends met. So I remember one day, Sherry, oh my gosh, I was approached. And I was just like, I didn't know what he was asking me because I'm from the suburbs. I don't know. I have no clue what's happening. So he's repeating himself, and I kind of thought, and I was like, wait a minute. I said, well, thank you, and he told me his room number and everything. Like, I was trying to be covert, just in case, I really didn't mean what I was saying. And so I remember walking.
I just want to say, like, this is such a great example of, like, your approach to life, which is, like, someone could take that as such an insult, and you were like, I mean, thanks. I mean, no thanks, but hey, thanks, what a great example of, like, seeing everything as a positive.
Sharing, but I don't know what sex I've been taking in my life. I'm grateful that I am passing it. And so I remember walking to the front desk, and I'm like, sir, did you know that patrons are like soliciting individuals? And he's like, what? Like, he doesn't know, but I can tell by his demeanor, he knows, right? So I said, well, just let him know not everyone. And I have a child in there. Okay, so not over here, okay? And he's like, yes, ma'am. Okay, no problem. Yes, ma'am. And so I was so broken because I'm like, God, like, have I cursed? I am supposed to be healing. I just lost the most important person in my life. And then I had to lose all the familiarity to me and my children. And now we are subjected to the mercies of whomever will decide to be kind to us. All while I'm still trying to grow them and develop them. And I am feeding an entire human for me. And this is the hotel of all the spaces that my children are in. And I remember just weeping, oh my gosh, uncontrollably. And so I called my job and I'm just like, excuse me, I'm sorry. I have to take a mental health day. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, no. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. And they're like, okay, if you need anything, please just call us back. So I hang up, and so I began just, as a mom, we silent cry, right? So there is no noise to disrupt our home, right? And so I'm in this one room, and they're with me. So I'm trying to cry, and my daughter wakes up. My eldest, she wakes up, and she puts her hand on me. And I was like, oh, I am so sorry for crying. And she said, no, mommy, you are beautiful for crying. And she wrapped her arms around me. And I just broke, like, all of the weight of everything I had been carrying. It was as if it was my mother holding me and just giving me assurance that it's okay to cry. This is hard. This is not, this is very uncomfortable, right? And so I'm just wailing. And in the midst of me wailing and crying, I've never been like a long crier. I think you're stupid sometimes. That's if you cry too long, I feel like you gotta stop at some point. So
girlfriend, you got 30 seconds to have a pity party. You could do whatever you need to do. Maybe I'll give you 2 minutes because this seems like a big one. But you got 2 minutes to have a pity party, and then we're moving to solution.
Absolutely, yes. And so in the midst of this cry, right, I was like, God, am I being selfish? And it was as if I could hear, yes, you are. And I was like, what? Okay. All right, so what do I do that for? And he said, what have I told you? Like, what have I shown you that you can do? Do you think these people are in this position because they want to be? Think about that. And so I remember beginning to think about, just like I said, I grew up in church. So I heavily rely on my faith. So I just remembered that scripture came back, right? So Abraham was promised that he would be the father of many nations. He had no children and he was 90. So how is this possible? It's what are you talking about, right? And you're telling me to leave everything and go somewhere completely different. And so here I am in this space, and I'm like, I know what you showed me. I know what I have been doing at home. I know the impact that I had there. But those people were ungrateful. And they killed my brother. Why? What are you talking about now? Like, there are lots of people at this point. God's like, I have given you an assignment, right? You know what I mean? Like, I really was, people were not my favorite creation at this point. I was okay with rocks. I can stand, the trees, but I was not okay with people at this point. And so I remember calling one of my friends, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this anger? Like, what do I do with this? And they were like, you feel it. And I was like, is this like a safe anger? I don't know you guys' level of anger, all who ever watch this. I have never just been a very calm, angry person. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm calm, and that's why you should run. Because I've already made a...
I love that. I'm calm, that means you should run.
Because now, right, I've already decided my fate and yours, and Okay. And so I'm like, is this safe? So I really had to go back into recognizing what my emotions are saying to me. What are these emotions saying? What is the reason I'm mad? And so I found out that it was my pride. I was offended because how dare they? That's my brother. I've been helping you guys for how long? And this is what you do to me? Out of all the people in the world. And that is very selfish because no one deserves to die, first of all. And no one is exempt from having to deal with death. So how dare I think that I can choose how I have to live with this trauma? I don't get to choose that. I get to choose how I respond to the trauma, right? And so I said, okay, now that I know I'm dealing with pride, now that I know, I'm offended, like my feelings are hurt, I have to come up to a place of forgiveness of this offense. I have to figure out how I can forgive and who is it that I'm forgiving. I don't need to know names, but I just need to know, what am I forgiving? Like, what is the control? Because if this situation has this much, me feeling this much anger, right? It's killing me. I can't even move forward. I haven't even thought about why I came here. And now that I'm faced with my why, I'm in my feelings and I don't want to proceed forward because woe is me and why am I in this situation? And so I really had to start processing that. And I was 6 months into grieving, like I wasn't even, it was just deal with it now. And so it was so amazing because in the midst of me dealing with it, all of my needs were starting to be met. And so we got into our new apartment. I had, at the beginning when I first came, had enrolled my daughter into a school. And because of her academic level, she was able to go to the IB school, or the interbaccalaureate school, right? And so this school is in a very nice space, right? And so the parents were like, wait a minute, what? And they began to shower us. And I remember, just thinking they were going to bring a few items because I just made this little cute list. And the lady, she said, I'm making the list. Let's out of here. And so she made this list. And so I remember standing outside of our apartment, and one of the parents, he walked in, and he owned this store that sells TVs. And he walked in with a TV, and he was like, I'll be back. And he came back with this truckload. And I was in tears because he brought workers with him, and they began to just move things into our home, rugs for my children's floor. Everybody had their own bedrooms, and it was set up so nicely. And our dining rooms were beautiful. Everything. I needed an office space in my house because I'm working for myself. They did, when I say everything. And I could only receive it because I no longer was angry with people, And so I get emotional thinking about it because our traumas hold us from our blessings. And we don't even recognize when we are coming to the level up place or the elevated space for ourselves and our business and what's our purpose life. We don't even realize it. And we'll hold ourselves hostage to what we're feeling because of our offense or because of, whatever we feel based on our anger. And if I hadn't taken that opportunity to just be like, let me dissect what I'm actually, because anger is my mask. I don't mind being angry. I'm like the hawk, or what was the hawk's name before doctor? I forgot his name. He was always mad.
On the tip of my tongue. We'll find it.
Bruce. He was always mad. And so that was how he controlled the hawk, because he was always angry. And so once I started divorcing and, I was always angry, even though I was doing all the right things and I was still smiling, I was always angry because my life, I'm a sad person. So I'm mad now, right? But I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to smile my way through it. So I was always angry. So angry was my mask. And so I had to pull anger, pull it down and say, now, what are you masking, anger? What is this? Oh, you're hiding pride and vengeance and hate and malice and what? Well, because they don't know feelings. Those feelings can't pour into this 14-year-old to rejoice because all the things that we need are going to be met. These things cannot pour into my son, he's a mirror of my emotions, right? So I have to give him and show him something great. And then even my baby, I'm nursing her. So she is, firsthand receiving all of my innermost part, no matter how much I smiled and sung songs to her. It just was never really authentic until I started pulling it down. And so I did. And in the midst of that, I sent my son to a Montessori school once we moved into the place. And because my business was working in downtown, he could go to the Montessori school that was downtown Dallas. And I met my first client walking down the stairs of the building of his school. She was one of the parents, and her and her husband have a business together. It's a beautiful, awesome business. And she said, well, can you help us? And so I began to do what I do here with them first. So yeah, that's that.
Well, and I love how you always had this sort of natural sense of, emotional intelligence and how to connect with people. And then, you went through this real dark night of the soul that made you understand even deeper how we have to understand our own masks, take those off, understand what's happening underneath in order to really embrace our authenticity and to receive the gifts that are waiting for us in the universe and give back to other people. Right. And I think that's one of the things that I find so inspiring about your story, because it's such an example of that. So tell us a little bit. So this was in 2001. So recording this at the very end of 2023. So tell us a little bit about your life now and give us an update on the kids.
Yeah, so now I live the Texas life I dreamed about when I thought about Texas. Okay, well, almost. I don't ride horses yet. I'm getting there. There's a training place around the corner, nonetheless. So my children, we live in this beautiful suburban neighborhood. Everybody has everything that they have ever desired. I get to homeschool them whenever I want to. I work with my ideal clients all the time. I'm able to communicate with these people who impact our community every day, our service providers. And I talk to them about their emotional intelligence. I talk to them about their relationship with their own emotions and how they can use these emotions to build their teams. And these teams are front facing to our community. And so I'm able to train them. They're able to train their teams, and it's just like a trickle down effect. So I love it. I volunteer all the time in the community doing different things. Me and my children, we every year on my birthday, we are either going to feed. I kind of took a shelter under my wings. And so we fill up their pantry 3 months at a time. So it's a pantry for women's domestic violence shelter that's here in the city. And I love it. I don't live in the city any longer. I hate the city. Well, I hate living in the city. I love to do work, but living in the city is not something that I enjoy at all. So I love the chickens in the backyard of my neighbor. I love the playgrounds. Everyone knows everyone. I love when I walk into the city hall. They're like, and they know me. It's so funny. I actually called the fire department early this morning because I don't know how to light my fireplace. And I said, can somebody do this? show you, so they'll be here to show me how to use this fire so I don't set a fire to my house. So that's my life. I get to choose who I network with, and I love it. And that's how I ended up meeting you, because I've chosen my tribe of beautiful women, beautiful entrepreneurs, people who are doing things that also impact other people's lives. They're giving out of what they have learned and what they have experienced, and they've come onto another side of that. And I love it, and I love being around y'all. And I don't want to get sentimental, but I can, I can, but I love it. I think it's the best thing in the world to me. It took me a long time. I bumped my head a few different times within trying to navigate the different communities here, and recognizing that it's okay that I am just different. And I do, I know where I belong is where I am accepted, and I am appreciated, and I am valued. And so I am 100% okay with that. And so I've been able to find that community. Again, like I said, my daughter's in college. Her college is right down the street from where we are. And so, we're thriving. My son is just from he taught himself to read. He's teaching himself mathematics. Like, he's just an amazing person. My 4-month-old is now 4, and she is the best communicator in the world, and she's the best lover you will ever meet in your life. She just loves people, and she wants, I think she's going to be a writer because she enjoys writing. Even though it doesn't look like words yet. We're working on it, but she knows what it says. That's what it says. She creates stories. We tell stories to each other every single day, just building that imagination. And I get to be with my children, and there is no fear of our quality of life being taken. There's no fear of our physical lives being taken. We are at peace. There is no war here, and I am amazed. And I love what I get to do every single day. And I'm excited for when I get to expand. I'm looking forward to 2024, because I will be expanding and hiring on some help, and flying around and talking about emotional intelligence and what it's taught me. So I'm excited.
Man, this is the first time I've cried on Bosses with Baggage. I just find you so, just so inspiring. And I think, once we've sort of hit those really deep places, we realize that nothing can touch us. Because if we went through that, right, you've already been homeless with no money, with, like in a new city with nobody you knew, and you made it. And you know that you can do anything, right? And I think that's that's one of the most important things about having these dark nights of the soul, is they let us know that no matter what, we're going to be okay. That no matter what, we're always going to have something to give. And for me, it's how do I transfer what I went through into making the lives of the people around me better, making them feel better about what they've gone through, right? And I think that's why you and I had such a connection, because I think we both have that, that real mission now. And God, I don't even really know you, but I'm just so proud of you. I'm so in awe of you. I just think your journey is amazing. And I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to help you share that story, because I think it's going to inspire a lot of people.
I want to thank you too. The first time I met you, you were doing a branding and marketing seminar, and you helped me to recognize that it was okay, that I am exactly the most professionally amazing, beautiful, strong, brilliant woman that I am, right? And I can say that no matter how I got here. I am still, as they say now, I am her, right? And your demeanor and your everything, it showed me, yep, you're in the right place. You're doing the right thing. You're showing up the right way, because everything that you were saying, I was like, oh my gosh, Okay, I am doing that. Okay, good. Okay, good. And so it was just so reassuring for me because I don't necessarily want everybody to have to go through that darkness, right? But when I see people, you're already there. You might as well come out amazing, right? You might as well come out swinging for the fences, right? Like this is the time to do it. If no, and you're so right because I tell people that all the time. It's like, I'm carrying my children on my back, literally. There is nothing I can't do. And my oldest is as big as me. You understand what I mean? Like, I think it's in her formative years. These are the years when I'm a teenager, where I want to rebel, and she's privileged. So it was trying to help that person emotionally. Accepting, someone to snap out of despair and step into opportunity, right? And so I enjoy that, and thank you so much for you showing up authentically. Thank you so much for not being shying back in that room where everything is all crystally and beautiful. You didn't shy back away from where you came from and how it started and why or anything, and I was like, oh, man. There's fiery red hair, So that's somebody I need to know, and then when I, had the opportunity to actually talk and we hear each other within the next space where we actually talk to each other, I knew it was time. I didn't know that you did podcasts, so I'm very excited. Thank you for having me on. This is great. But I knew it was time, and I'm just really grateful that you braved the crowd. I mean, he said I heard something, and it caught my attention, and I think other people should hear it too. So thank you so much. I don't mean to have a soliloquy about it, but I appreciate you a lot, and I appreciate what you do, and what you do is brilliant and it works. And us women who are bosses with baggage. Look, I can't even, I don't mind dropping the baggage off, but hey, I got muscles now because I carried that. You know what I mean? So like if my biceps and if I'm strong in the shoulder area, it's because I had baggage. And so when I stand up tall, right, and I show up full, it's not my fault, right? That it's intimidating, but it's my responsibility to carry it, right? And I'm going to carry it well. And you carry it in such a sassy way. Thank you so much. Okay, that's all I want to say to you. So,
thank you. I'm all teared up. Thank you. The one thing that I always ask people at the end of the podcast is if you could talk to someone right now who is listening to this, who's in their darkest hour, what would you say?
I would say, don't be afraid of being in the dark. There is so much you're going to find once you turn that light on that's in you. There is always a glimmer of hope in you. There is always a glimmer of aspiration. There's something that you want deep down that's telling you that this is not it for you, right? So grab hold of that and navigate that darkness. It can't defeat you. It's only there because it's incubating you so that the rest of you is going to blossom and grow. You cannot find out what's truly in there. And we all have some icky things, right? Some things that aren't as favorable to our future because we've held on to them for survival. But they have to shed in this dark place. That's what I love about a seedling. It goes into this soil, it's dark, and that seedling has to break open. It has to let go of the layers. It has to be willing to unfold in darkness, not knowing what it is. And it has to be willing to grow in that space, not realizing that if it continues to grow, it's going to sprout out of that dirt. It's going to sprout out of that darkness. And there's nothing but light once you do that. And so I would say there is something that's telling you that this is not it for you. Follow it, hold on to it, grab onto it, and search through the darkness. That's your flashlight. That's your navigational tool. Use it.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you were here. If people want to find you and have you coach them or just hang out with you because you're amazing, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Okay, so Instagram, it's Coach Kim with 2 M's, right? It's Coach Kim, literally ITS, Coach Kim. It's Coach Kim on IG, or my website. It's coachwithkim.org, excuse me, coachwithkim.org. I don't mind hanging out. I don't mind having these conversations. I don't mind empowering. Most importantly, there's a community that I have online that we have these silly conversations because we all have these feelings, and then it's time to kind of grow up from them too, right? And so we always need someone that's saying, okay, I know, now what? Right. And so there, find me on IG. It's the best way to contact me. It's the easiest. It's Coach Kim. You can DM me and I will respond. And then my website, coachwithkim.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated being here.
Big kisses to you.
Thank you.
And if you liked this podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, do all the things, tell your friends. This is a labor of love so that I can share more of these incredible stories with you and help you realize that you are not alone, that all of us go through dark nights of the soul, and that it is an opportunity for us to, as Kemburleigh said, shine a light that will allow not only an illumination of our lives, but all the people around us. So thank you. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to Bosses with Baggage. We are honored that you chose to spend your precious time with us. I hope that you are feeling inspired to reframe your setbacks into your superpowers so that you can change not only your life, but the life of everyone around you. If you enjoyed today's podcast, and I sure hope you did, please subscribe, rate, and share on your favorite podcast listener. And if you have any ideas for a future guest, or you need some help growing your business, I'd love to connect with you. You can find me directly on my website, which is sherrysutton.com, SherrySutton.com. We'll see you next time.